I love a good ending explained when the movie has a really good metaphor in it, and Good Boy is one of those. Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be doing an ending explained for Good Boy, the movie about the dog Indy. Now, there are going to be spoilers, of course, in this video, so if you haven't seen the movie at all, then maybe don't watch this ending explained, because this does explain the main part about the movie and especially the ending of the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, then don't watch this video. But if you don't mind and you don't care about spoilers, or if you've seen the movie, then continue watching. We follow Indy as strange events start to unfold when his owner Todd takes him to his grandfather's house to try and get better. We can see that Todd isn't well, so he's going to his grandfather's house just to unwind and relax. But as soon as they get there, Indy notices there's things that are starting to happen that he thinks are a little bit strange, and they all begin in the car at the beginning of the movie. Indy starts to notice this black mass going around the house. He starts to notice some noise around the house as well that he's unsure about, but because he's a dog, he's just very curious. Now, from our point of view as the audience and from Indy's point of view, they're supposed to be the same. So Indy thinks the house is haunted, therefore the audience also has to believe that the house is haunted. But again, there is a metaphor within this story that tells us that the house is in fact not haunted. The key part of the movie and the end of the movie shows Todd being dragged away by this entity into the basement. Indy's trying to desperately help him, but he can't save him, and then Todd eventually dies. So on a surface level, it tells us that the ghost, the entity, the poltergeist, whatever it is that's haunting the house, has killed Todd, and Indy couldn't do anything about it. That's what, on face value, is what the movie shows us. But deep down, what it actually is, if you couldn't guess it already, Todd was dying, he wasn't well, and if you go back to the beginning of the movie, Todd's sister actually says to Todd on the phone, right at the beginning, that dogs can sense when something's not right about a human being. Therefore, Indy could sense there was something wrong with Todd, but Indy, being a dog, couldn't really tell what it was. Was he seeing an actual ghost, or was he sensing something wrong with Todd, that Todd was actually in fact dying? So therefore, Indy's agitation isn't with a ghost, it's with the fact that Todd's health is declining. If you couldn't guess it already that Todd was ill, you notice that he had an IV drip in his arm, he was coughing a lot through the movie. You could even see his grandfather coughing, which we'll get into in a video in the movie. I think they were maybe trying to get us to think there's some sort of link to the house that makes you ill because of the ghosts, but obviously that wasn't the case. But he was visiting his doctor quite a few times. He had an MRI scan as well. They were telling him that they couldn't do anything for him. So it was quite clear that Todd was ill, but it wasn't too clear if he was ill because of the house or because he was just genuinely ill. So when you look at the dark mass, it's not a literal ghost. That is a metaphor for Todd's health that is declining, and because his health is declining, Indy can sense that, and Indy senses it in a way that it looks like some sort of paranormal activity. So when Todd is dragged into the basement at the end of the movie, that symbolises Todd eventually dying from his illness. Indy, of course, can't fight it because you can't fight a metaphor, and he couldn't save Todd from dying from his illness. I think the point of view of Indy in the movie is very important because we're seeing it through Indy's eyes, so we have to put ourselves on the level of a dog's mentality. So Indy doesn't know about ghosts and goblins, etc. So what he's seeing, he genuinely believes what is happening right in front of his eyes. But because he has that extra sense that humans don't have, he's putting it into that metaphor. So if you want to shorten it into a couple of words, it's animal instincts. At the end of the movie, you see Todd's sister coming in. You can only see her in a kind of silhouette, and she's obviously upset because she finds Todd in the bed upstairs dead. Obviously, as a metaphor, he's getting pulled into the basement, which he wasn't there. It was just Indy thinking he was there. So when she goes down to get Indy, she's obviously upset, and Indy goes away with Todd's sister. Now, the movie doesn't explain what type of illness that Todd has. We can only assume what type of illness Todd has, but we can see that his grandfather is also sick as well from the videos that he's watching. I don't know why he's watching videos of his grandfather. The only explanation we can give there is that the audience have to know what's happening because we can only see it through Indy's eyes. So there's a lot missing, a lot of context missing if we don't see things like this. But it's clear that it's something that's hereditary and the house doesn't play a part. It's just a coincidence that Todd goes to his grandfather's house to live out the rest of his days. It could be that he knew what was happening to him. He knew what his grandfather's illness was. So he thought, I might as well live the rest of my days in my grandfather's house because maybe my grandfather was happy with his dog and I want to be happy with my dog for the rest of my days. This also supports why the sister is practical and she's present. She always asks Todd how he is. She's always phoning Todd, making sure he's okay. So it seems like she is a loving sister that knew what Todd was going through, and she also went through it herself with Todd, with her grandfather. Although the film is subtle in the metaphor that Todd is actually dying, it does give you obvious nods to what is actually happening in the movie because we're relying on a dog's point of view. So yes, of course it is subtle in a way, but when you piece it together, you already know what's happening before it gets to the end of the movie. So when it does get to the end, and I don't know if this is intentional, but when it does get to the end, it is obvious that there's nothing there. It is obvious to us, the audience, that Todd is just simply dying.
I should never have come here.
I think that's why they put that in there at the beginning with the sister talking to Todd, saying that dogs can sense when somebody's not right, when somebody's ill. That's just the start of the metaphor. That's the start of the thinking process for the audience to think, okay, maybe there's something wrong with Todd and not the house. So there we have it, guys. Good Boy is not a haunted house movie, unfortunately. It is about a man called Todd with his dog who is slowly dying and Indy can't do anything about it. It's quite a sad story when you think of it that way, but that is the metaphor, that is the message that they're trying to give us in the movie. And for a 73-minute movie, I think it does its job perfectly well. And overall, I thought it was a really good film. But what are your guys' thoughts on the movie, first of all? And also, what are your thoughts on that metaphor? Did you see it coming? Did you actually see it at all? And did you still think it was a haunted house movie? As always, leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played in the cat?
Someone's in the back seat!